the Jayson Buford Show on Riverside.fm. We have Jayson Buford here as always. I'm going to introduce my next guest in a really sentimental and sweet fashion. So I went to college at Quinnipiac University. 2.5 unsuccessful years, but still very successful at the same time. Really, it's, so don't ask me why. It's both at the same time, but it just is. And, in college, you go out and you meet people, and you never know who you might meet. I had my friends that I lived with, or that were in my grade or in my orbit, but when I was out, somehow I don't know how I made this friend, but I made my very, very good friend, one of my best friends in the whole wide world. Somebody who, when you have someone who, like, you may not see them all the time, but once you do, it's just like, and that is this friend, and he means so much to me. He always watched over me in college, so we just, like, always vibed, and I've had opportunity to spend time with his wonderful, beautiful family, who's always been so great to me, and I really, really love them a lot. And so, yeah, we have my boy Ned Holmes here, he's also, why he's here is also, he's my Boston guy, right? This is my Boston best friend. This is my guy who lives in Boston. You know what I mean? I don't have people who live in Boston like that. This is my guy,
We're a lot. You only really need one.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody gets one.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah, this is awesome to have. This is very Bill Simmons like to just like have your friends on the pod, and I think that's like the coolest part of his podcast. So I'm not trying to swagger jack him, obviously, but like I wanted to have one of my best friends on to talk the Super Bowl, because the New England Patriots are in the Super Bowl this year, and you are like a Patriots fan. Your number one Boston sports team is the Patriots, if I'm not mistaken.
It is, absolutely. Well, also, before we get going, what an intro. I appreciate that, man. That means a lot, and I'm very excited to be here. Flattered that you'd like to have me on, and very excited to talk A, ball, and B, whatever other types of ball we must address here. But just before we continue, I remember how our conversation started. It was back when we were in college. It was a Red Sox-Yankees game. And I think the two of us from opposite sides of the bar were the two loudest people about what was going on. Just the fact that the Red Sox and the Yankees were playing. And I'm pretty sure after that, I came up to you, bought you a beer, and we just started yelling at each other.
I wonder what game, like, it's got to be some type of game. Was 2015 maybe? It's got to be some type of game too, right? Like, I think A-Rob might have been involved in the game or something.
It would have been early in your sophomore year, probably around like August or September. So it was before the playoffs, but like end of the regular season game. So I have to imagine it was coming down to either a wild card or something within division. But we were the only people there who actually seemed to give a shit about the game itself, instead of being at a bar for the sake of seeing a game.
Yeah, instead of getting women, we were yelling about sports.
I mean, personally, you're not my first friend that's a fan of New York. I know you're Pittsburgh Steelers as well, but one of the first who could speak well on the matter and wasn't just like a homer for the sake of it. Like, yeah, I could tell you knew your shit, which
bro, we're not. Dude, we're not here to just suck our team's dick. Like, we're honestly, like, we are like objective fans. We love our team, but like,
and that's a perfect transition.
Perfect transition.
I got one there. But the unbiased is coming to the forefront.
I love the Rob Lowe NFL hat. That's so funny.
My favorite thing. My girlfriend actually made this for me. And
did she really?
Yeah. So we have no licensing worries or anything. This is
shout out to Erin, by the way.
Shout out Erin. She's probably listening through the door right now. Yeah, if Goodell comes for me, I am not selling these. It's one of one. But anytime before we lived together that she's like, what are you doing today for like the first year of our relationship? If it was a Sunday, 1,000% I'm sending the Rob Lowe photo with nothing else. Just like, this is me today, just football.
That is so funny. That Rob Lowe photo looks like the most evil shit. I can't explain why, but
oh, no, it looks like he's up to something. It's like,
yeah, it looks like he's up.
Something went wrong and he's about to get on the phone.
Yeah, it's like he owes like gambling debts in NFL or something. This was his like humiliation ritual. They made him
You
wear
know,
a NFL cap.
someone like him is always not Rob Lowe specifically, but someone like Rob Lowe that you'd almost never expect to have like a huge gambling vice. I can see Rob putting 10 G's on the Super Bowl for nothing other than to sweat something. He's good for it.
Rob Lowe definitely has a gambling issue. That's like a prime gambling issue type of guy.
You don't go to a game with an NFL hat if you're actually rooting for both teams. He's got something else going on.
He's
He knows
got
something.
points on he's got points on FanDuel. FanDuel has like they send him like birthday messages and shit.
Next thing we know, it'll be like the Rob Lowe points for the night, and then
Yeah.
he'll have his own lines on DraftKings and shit like that.
Looks like I'm getting sued by Rob Lowe by the second. Actually, he just sent me an email.
Rob Lowe, I was gonna say if you want to litigate, I am not down, but I will not stop wearing the hat. So I don't really know where that leaves us.
So the New England Patriots are in the Super Bowl. I wanted to have you on because I just can't seem to get down with this Patriots team in terms of them being a huge villain. I just can't get down with it. There's none of the characters that they used to have. Vrabel seems like a fucking nice guy. Like I can't really, I don't really have the capacity to really hate these guys like I used to like really dig on the Patriots back in the day. Partly because I was a Steeler fan, yes, but also like they were just the kings of the NFL at that point. They'd had that second run of titles after the first run in the 2000s, then the drought.
Yeah, it
They
was
had
like
a second
Dynasty
run.
1.5, where it was kind of
Exactly.
like it wasn't the first one, but it wasn't far enough removed from it where it really felt that different.
Yeah, exactly. It was like another, but it was like also like you guys had a stretch of not winning from I think '04 to or '05 actually '05 to 2014. That was like a 9-year stretch of
Yep.
not winning a title.
With
So
also,
that was
I mean, one of the best teams of that era,
that's true.
18-1, right? So they did make it to the Super Bowl, but
They made it 3 times if I'm not right. Twice.
yeah. Well,
Twice?
in that period, they made it twice. They were in a couple AFC Championship games. That's when they couldn't get over the Broncos because first the Broncos had that great offense with Manning, Welker, Demaryius Thomas, and then Julius Thomas as well. And then subsequently, the Broncos defense improved vastly when Manning started to decline, and then never able to get over that hump, which is actually part of what made this playoff run for the Patriots exciting, was that they kind of had a chance to get back at Denver in a way. I mean, not having Bo Nix for that game was helpful for the Patriots, to say the least. I don't know how much the weather really helped either team. It kind of screwed both of them, really, and sort of ruined the second half in a way. But I want to go back to the first thing you were saying about how this Patriots team doesn't really feel like some of the ones from the past. And I think Vrabel is a huge part of that because it's, as like if you're someone who enjoys football, right? If you're just like a football guy, the shit he does is enjoyable. Like when he was coaching the Titans, I was still a huge fan of his, just in the way that it seemed like he was able to motivate his locker room, as well as kind of keep the bullshit sort of media noise tampered down, where it's like it really does seem like a tight knit group, and it's just us and ours against the world essentially in this. And Patriots are an underdog, and I feel like nobody expected them to make the playoffs, especially not win the AFC East with the Bills. Most people probably didn't think they'd beat the Bills once in the season, which they did split the season series, but like even just the one win being the first of those games, I think served for Patriots fans as like, oh, this team can compete, but with the rest of the league, it was then drawn up as kind of like a fluke, like just in the division they're going to win one, and then I think after that win, they won their next 5 or 6 games in a row, and even still at that point, people weren't really talking about them seriously. Like Drake Maye was getting a lot of credit for how well he was playing, but he hasn't played great in the playoffs, and they've still been able to find a way to win. And a lot of the games this year that they have won by a close margin has been finding a way to win, like those tough late 3-and-outs that the defense is forced, whether it's forcing a punt, actually making a turnover, and then how on top of that the offense is then able to execute in those positions. Like, hey, we just need a field goal. We just got to drain some clock. If we get this over the 50, we're in a much different shape. So I think it's significantly different than any of the Patriots teams from the past. And honestly, I think that's why a lot of people who formerly hated them just because how dominant they were can now kind of look at it almost from a more objective standpoint. And they're the scrappy underdogs. It's kind of like they're one of the youngest teams in the league. They got one of the best young quarterbacks, great young specialists with Travion Henderson, Kayshon Boutte, Demario Douglas. They still got a great veteran presence with Milton Williams, Stephon Diggs, Mac Hollins, Hunter Henry, guys like that. So it's like I feel like it's a pretty perfect mix between young and almost reckless, like what do you have to lose type guys, and then also some other guys who have been there before.
Yeah, I think the Stephon Diggs trade was like the first trade I saw to the Patriots where I was wondering, I was like, okay, this is interesting. Like, what are they trying to do? This veteran receiver. I didn't know how good Maye was. I knew he had a successful rookie year and that he had some arm talent. I didn't think he'd be this good this early in his second year.
I think a lot of Patriots fans would agree with that too.
Yeah, I personally still don't really know how good he actually is. Because I think of the struggles in the postseason, yes, but also like you watch these guys play and so much of it feels really methodical, but not methodical in the way that I think Brady was. Like, yeah. Brady was like such a psycho type of villain, like the type of like Jack Nicklaus, Kobe Bryant, like type of like weird psycho villain guy. But yeah. Maye almost feels like a little bit more herky-jerky. Like, I never feel like Maye is dominating a game.
Yeah. And
ever.
I think that's by design. Because one of the things I was going to bring to you here is that in the 3 playoff games so far that the Patriots have played, they've run the ball 30 times in every game. One of them was 29, but we're just going to go ahead and call that 30. Someone might have, Maye might have audibled out of a play. They're calling run frequently.
Yeah.
And
it's a ground, yeah.
Well, and with Brady, a lot of, I think, what people, sometimes people will call him like a check down merchant and stuff. And a lot of it was like Welker and Edelman, that short, line of scrimmage to 5-6 yard type completions where they just do that down the field, mix in the run for 3 or 4 yards. And then they had efficient enough of a passing game where they could still go back to those short, not even intermediate stuff, like truly like at the line of scrimmage type of shit. And we're able to execute in that way. It almost like doubled as another part of the run game. Whereas with this offense, what I've seen McDaniels doing is really leaning on the running game itself and then using Maye in the intermediate area once the linebackers, that next row of defense past the defensive line has kind of moved up to play the run, is when they're getting those 10, 15, 20-yard completions over the middle behind those defenders, which I think is something that they're going to continue to try to do in the Super Bowl. I think it's a matter of what they try and establish first, whether it's an intermediate passing game to move the linebackers off the line of scrimmage, or if they're going to run, move them closer, and then try and drop in passes behind that.
Yeah, I mean, they are a pretty, like, well-balanced team. You talked about the rushing attempts. Like, it's a ground and pound style. In a way that actually kind of reminds me more of the early dynasty in the 2000s with the ground and pound style, I think, yeah. Right? Like, and it makes sense because Vrabel was part of those teams.
Yeah.
Like, when they first hired him, what was your opinion on him? What was your take of the hire, right? They had just spent a year with Jerome Mayo and then, like, quickly fired him. Maybe I think there was like wasn't it that he had to, Belichick named him the successor in waiting?
Yeah.
And so they kind of had to do that because that was like in writing almost or something?
It was actually in Jerome Mayo's contract at the time as the defensive coordinator still under Belichick that last year. So it was
right. So they like yeah.
And I think that too is part of what sort of pushed, not to go into Patriots history, but I believe
we definitely will talk about the snub down the road.
It's kind of inevitable. Like, it's going to come up. But I think that part of having that successor lined up was sort of what started to turn Belichick off from continuing to coach the Patriots, because personnel moves as well as some things schematically the last couple of years with Belichick were not as good as what he was before. He wasn't working with the same quality of players that he had previously had, which is his fault, right? That's not me diverting any blame towards Kraft.
No, I mean, he
Belichick,
was the GM, right?
he had total control. And I think part of Kraft sort of saying, I am picking the next hire, like, you will be done here at some point, probably was something that got the wheels turning in Bill's head. Like, okay, they're already starting to plan for something without me, that kind of thing. But yeah, so to go back to Mayo, he was given a shit situation, like, without question, despite having, right, third overall pick, getting who's now proven to be, if not above average, potentially top 10, top 5 in the league with Drake Maye, right? So it's like, that is the one thing that any new coaching hire is kind of looking towards, like, all right, where are we at the quarterback position? And you can kind of fill in the rest, whether it's line, running backs, receivers, or even you have offense and you need to work on the defense then at that point. With Mayo, I think some of the ways that certain games played out kind of led to his demise, in that there didn't seem to be a lot of fight from the team just in general. It seemed honestly, like this year's like Pete Carroll Raiders. Year, we'll give it granted, Carroll was working with a lot more, I don't want to say longevity, but like a history of success. So like,
isn't he like, Carroll's like 75 years old, dude. Like, that was crazy. Like the one, yeah, Carroll's like really old guy.
He's one of the only older coaches that I've seen on the sidelines and actually been like, oh, you might need to like actually sit down. Like, at least when Tom Coughlin was coaching the Jets, he had that pink face and it's 2 degrees in Lambeau. I would still pick that man in a fight against a 50-year-old, right?
Yeah,
I get that for Pete Carroll. But just to, I guess, finish up on Mayo, I think he's a great defensive-minded coach. I don't think he had what it took to lead an entire group of professional football players. And it's like, being a former player takes you to a certain point as a coach, but I think Vrabel, also having been a former player, takes it a step further, and not in the meetings or anything. And I've been trying to read up as much as I can on certain things he does within the building that could help kind of foster that kind of environment. But honestly, he's just a dog. Like, I think the players see it. Like, if age wasn't, an object in this, he would still be playing if it were up to him. And I think that's a big part of why they've rallied around him, is I think they see his desire not to succeed for himself, but for the players and the team, right? Almost removing himself as head coach and giving the players ownership of it, kind of thing. I think that's the difference, but that's something that I've seen throughout the year and like through different reporting and interviews and stuff. Before that, I thought without question he was the best head coach available after having not coached for a year and having the Titans get rid of him for they got to feel like complete idiots at this point.
Yeah,
being as bad as they are, for as good as they were the last couple years where Vrabel was there, to where they are now and where Vrabel is in his first year with another team.
If I'm not mistaken, he led them to the AFC title game, right? Didn't he lead them to the AFC title game that one year? Yeah.
Yeah, it was, and they beat the Patriots in Foxborough. That was Brady's last game.
Right,
as
that
a
was
Patriot.
Brady. That's right. That was Brady's last game as a Patriot. Yeah, that's right. That was Brady's last game as a Patriot, and then I think they beat Baltimore at Baltimore, right? Because that's Lamar Jackson's first year really being a superstar. They beat Baltimore at Baltimore, and then they run into Kansas City with Mahomes, and that's like a really tough matchup for them. But they were in the game. Ryan Tannehill was their starting quarterback. They had Derrick Henry.
And they made it that far.
Yeah, exactly.
Ryan Tannehill. It says a lot.
It says a lot. I know. But he's always seemed to me like, I always rate coaches and judge coaches by like how cool their like NFL films, like, mic'd up stuff is, and his stuff is like it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh, he's the fucking man, and like from all accounts, he wasn't like. What always kind of stood out to me about the teams that Vrabel was on when he was a Patriot, especially now that I'm right, because then I was like, 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, so it's like I wasn't really paying much attention to the dynamics of the player, but it's so clear now that Brewski was kind of like the teacher's pet, like
Mm-hmm.
the mind of Belichick on the field, and Vrabel was kind of just the meathead. Like, all right, tell me who to go hit. Like, I'm just gonna
Yeah,
kill
yeah.
somebody. Like, who do I gotta fuck up for us to do the right thing
Well,
here?
the funky stuff that they used to do with Vrabel back in the day was like a lot of the really cool shit that they used to do when they had him in tight end, they line him up a goal line. That stuff was actually pretty cool.
And as a linebacker, he was really versatile too, where they'd have him down as one of the edge rushers or
Mm-hmm.
playing in coverage outside of that. Like he was very versatile for how because back then you didn't have to be running a 4-4 to compete with tight ends. So he was one of
Right.
the last like meatheads who could really have like a lot of versatility, especially for the defensive scheme that they ran at that time.
Yeah. How concerned are you about this Drake May shoulder? He claims that it got a lot better this past week. That I don't know. I don't know. Do you believe that? That's
I think there's some credence to it where it's like
yeah.
at this point in the year you've played because they had to play in the wild card round. They didn't get a bye, so that's what 20 Super Bowl is gonna be their 21st game this year. So I
Yeah.
mean it's a lot of football, and he's also you see it a lot with young quarterbacks where he doesn't run a whole lot, but in the
Mm-hmm.
pocket he's always trying. Like he's athletic enough to escape the pocket and do kind of Josh Allen, Mahomes stuff where it's like they're not first read run kind of guys when it breaks down. They'll roll out, expand the play, and then wait to throw again. And I think in a lot of those instances where he's trying to either escape the pocket and he runs into the rush, like all of that is to say, I think there's a lot of hits he's taken where he really didn't need to, and a veteran quarterback probably finds a way to basically ground it or something like
Right.
that. So I think a lot of like the physical toll this season is taken on May is self-inflicted, but you got to think with 2 weeks and nothing official on the injury report that right I have to just kind of trust that he's going to be good. Um, and also it's like they threw so infrequently in the second half of the AFC Championship game
Yeah.
that
They really couldn't. They just couldn't. It was like the conditions,
so
like they weren't amenable to throwing to passing the ball.
but there was a couple throws that I felt like he had been spot on with all year. That in the Houston game as well as that one against the Broncos, were I mean there were a couple like quick outs to running backs or like hitches to tight ends. There was one corner he threw to Douglas that was probably 6 inches to a foot over his head when in the regular season at the ball he's putting perfectly over the shoulders instead of having his receiver turn and need to go up for the ball, which then gives the defender another chance to make a play on it, right, where you're showing late hands so that they can't make a play, which is
Mm-hmm.
something, I mean, his accuracy is going to have to be a huge part of this game against Seattle because, I mean, their defensive backs between Tyreek Woolen, Devin Witherspoon, and Josh Jobe are three solid corners who they have almost all of the time when they're in nickel or dime defenses against pass packages. So, like, he's going to have to be accurate if they're going to have any sort of passing game.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but like the skills position talent that the Patriots have this year, right? Like Diggs when he's not being arrested for shakedown deals with his.
Or getting someone pregnant.
Did you see the video of him on the? I don't know if you saw this. The video of him on the boat with like he had
Oh,
like
yeah.
six different girls.
Oh,
with him
yeah.
on the boat.
Oh, yeah.
That video is amazing.
And a certain pink substance.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
That video is great.
I'm
Yeah,
telling you, because that was preseason. That was
Yeah.
feeling almost like we had rewound a year and Gerard Mayo was the coach again. Where I was like, hey, what the fuck are these guys doing? Because that was like the last week of preseason or something.
Yeah,
Like, it wasn't far from the regular season.
he's been
starting.
good though. He's a good receiver, man. He's been good this year. How are you feeling about your skill position talent, which I think like is very much the key in this
Yeah.
series, especially with Seattle's like secondary. Like it's very much the key. The whole series. Their front seven is also just like so ridiculous. So it's
So
like
that was
yeah.
one of the first things I was going to mention is how their front four and then Ernest Jones. So like I guess the front seven, but those
Yeah.
front five between Leonard Williams, DeMarcus Lawrence, and shoot, I'm gonna feel bad. I forget the last one. Either way, very solid front four. in addition to a solid and very, very well coached linebacking core. Like, I think it's important to go back to the fact that McDonald got the job with Seattle because of how good the Ravens defense was that last year that he was coaching at Baltimore. So, but that also goes back to what I was saying before, where I'm curious to see how McDaniels is going to try and set up what he wants to run, whether it's intermediate passing first, move the linebackers back, create some separation at the line of scrimmage for the offensive line, or do we start running almost in like a kind of bang your head against the wall? We don't care if it doesn't work. We want them to know this is what we're going to do. I think the Patriots do have a slight advantage in their offensive specialists just because of the depth that we have as opposed to what Seattle has, because Seattle's top 4 pass catchers between Jackson Smith and Jigba, Cooper Kupp, Rashid Shaheed, and then A.J. Barner, I think, are all – I mean, those 3 receivers would make up the best 3 receivers probably on most teams in the NFL. I think Barner is really underrated as a pass-catching tight end. And then you throw Kenneth Walker on top of that, and that's 5 solid, really good offensive players. But then you look at the Patriots, I named some of the guys before, Diggs, Booty, Douglas, Mac Hollins, even Kyle Williams a little bit is kind of the rookie wide receiver from Washington State has kind of come on towards the end of the year. They use Hunter Henry a lot. They work in Austin Hooper. And then Stevenson and Travion Henderson have both getting a lot of touches. So I think the depth favors the Patriots on offense. And I think as far as who the better offensive players are, favors Seattle.
Yeah, Seattle's like receiving core is like really, really. Smith is
JSN is out of this world.
Yeah, he's out of this world.
Receiver, it's really fun to watch him run. And Brady actually made what I thought was a really cool point that I'd ever.
Brady's been great, by the way. Brady's been great.
Been so much better.
He's been a lot better. Yeah, he's been a lot better. He was robotic, and it's hard. You have to show like a personality that you might not actually have. Almost like he was like a little bit robotic. Definitely he was having trouble with the timing. The timing's like always like really tough. But this year, I thought he did a lot better job. Also, what his sauce this year is, he likes to, if the play's going on and something crazy is happening, he'll like exclaim something, like he'll shout something, which I think is cool. Like I want to hear them be really excited about something.
And the thing I was just going to bring up too, that I was, I played wide receiver my whole life playing football, and I was never really coached on this, is how level JSN's shoulder plane is as he's running, which then limits what the defender can kind of infer about his body motion as to, where the next part of the route stem or the break is going to be. So that, in addition to the fact that like the Patriots I don't think they're going to like have Christian Gonzalez shadow JSN the whole time. They're not going to have Carlton Davis on Kupp the entire time. So if Seattle is able to create matchups where if like you get JSN on Marcus Jones or even on Carlton Davis, I mean, Davis has kind of been exposed a few times, not really in the playoffs because the divisional and the championship game, bad weather, both, CJ Stroud looked like a high schooler out there. No disrespect, I understand he's a very good quarterback, but like,
he looked bad.
4 picks and a fumble.
He didn't look good against the Steelers, by the way. Not really.
No.
Yeah.
But like they don't move their corners around for specific matchups, so I do worry about what Seattle will do to kind of take advantage of that, because I don't really see the Patriots defense, and especially we were talking about Vrabel. He's a defense guy. I think he's gonna if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Right? They've only given up 26 points so far in the playoffs. And 16 of those, they gave up 10 to Denver and 3 to the Chargers, right? Everyone was ready to say this is going to be the Justin Herbert and Josh Allen playoffs, not so much. And then, they gave up 16 to Houston, but what I worry about
in fairness to Allen, that also, I thought, he made a lot of mistakes in that game in Denver, but that coaching was, that was rough.
Yeah. Yeah, and what's funny is the offensive coordinator now is the head coach.
Yeah, even funnier. Vrabel actually, like, Vrabel actually has been the best coach in the AFC that I've seen so far. Like, obviously, like I think coaching matters more in football than a lot of the other sports. And Vrabel so far, I think, has been the best coach. I mean, a lot of the stuff that I think Peyton is generally speaking a really, really good coach. I think a lot of the stuff that Denver did in that title game, and also obviously with a backup quarterback and stuff, but like a lot of the stuff that Denver has tried to do post title game about like dome this, dome that. It's just like so ridiculous. It's like so classic Sean Payton, like sore loser mentality.
Yeah. And I mean, they did it to themselves. Like the Broncos had a chance to make it a 2-score game. They went for it. They didn't get it, and that was that was the last time they had a chance to score.
Yeah. So okay, I'm going back to a Super Bowl from 10 years ago. Give me an over and under. How many times does the Malcolm Butler interception get played during the game? It's one thing to talk about at pregame. I get it, but during the game, I think they're gonna call back to it all the time. I think.
I mean, they kind of have to. You know, it's one of the most iconic plays in Super Bowl history, and it's the same matchup. So, like, to give you a number, if I was setting the odds, I would put it at 1.5. Because even if you mentioned the same play twice from a decade ago in the same game, that's already a lot. So like if they do it more than once, they're going to do it at least once.
I think they're going to do it.
If they do it more than once, that's kind of too much.
I think they do it twice. I think something happens where maybe someone's there on that Patriots team, someone's in the stands or something, someone comes through on that Patriots. Vince Wilfork is there.
With Kingsford charcoal, right?
Exactly,
like
exactly.
A grill or some shit. Exactly. Overalls, looking like an absolute fucking beauty.
He's there in Santa Clara, and they're like, "Oh, Vince Wilfork's here."
Yeah,
we need to talk about
let's hit the Malcolm Butler button. Yeah,
let's hit the nostalgia button. Yeah,
especially because it's NBC. I think they do the worst football broadcast.
And also,
love Tirico. Not Tirico slander in any way.
Oh, is this Collinsworth slander?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, he's gonna. If it's not showing the video, Chris Collinsworth will say it himself 4 or 5 times. Like, we all thought we had it before, and then it's where Malcolm Butler.
Oh, remember Malcolm Butler?
Yeah, like every time it's like goal to go from inside the 5, or like a 3rd or 4th down that's less than 3 yards, he's gonna say something about it.
I couldn't believe that the Seattle went to pass there. Malcolm Butler made it a ridiculous play.
Jay, now here's a guy. All he fucking says every sentence is, now Mike, here's a guy.
Here's a guy. He's outside.
You know what is nice about it though? It's like typically I don't watch any pregame stuff, but this I probably will just so I can like get a little bit like the nervous energy of those like 3 hours from like 2 o'clock, like 2:30 leading up to kickoff. I will probably turn it on just to rip on Chris Sims.
Yes.
That guy's a fucking idiot. This is my first podcast appearance ever, and I feel like I might already have more credibility than he does.
I know. I want them to ask about. Well, it's like Tony Dungy is like such a quote unquote nice guy that I don't think he'll have anything like bad to say about Belichick. But I do want to I do wonder if they should ask him about the Belichick stuff. I actually don't want to get into it right now, but that is one thing I also wonder if they will ask him about the Belichick stuff.
We won't get into it, and I'll send you a video later on. But
we'll wait. Yeah.
He was asked at like the Super Bowl media about if he voted for Belichick and Kraft because he's already in the Hall of Fame and famously was never able to beat Belichick. So it's like, wait, if you're not voting for the coach who
he beat him one time. He beat him that one time. That one time. Yeah.
Actually, twice, and they lost one. They did beat him to go play the Saints and lost that one. So he won twice to get to the big game and beat Belichick. But like the overall record is.
Oh no, he wasn't the coach against the Saints. That was He was already retired. That was Jim Caldwell.
Oh.
That was Caldwell. Yeah. That was Caldwell. So it was like Dungy had. Yeah, he has even less standing. He only had one win. True. Yeah.
That shit, honestly, doesn't bother me. It's just fun to talk about and like kind of because like their bias is so obvious that it's really just humorous and it's like there are certain people who I will respect the football opinion of. A lot of those people do not fall into that category.
Right. Fair enough. Fair enough. So, okay. Talk to me about this Seattle team. Who are you most afraid of on offense? And talk to me about Sam Darnold. Like, where is. I think the path for the Patriots to win this game is a bad Sam Darnold game.
Yeah.
That seems cliche to say, but, like, I do think top to bottom, Seattle's a better team. And the way the Patriots win this game is if Darnold reverts back to the unconfident player that he was previous to his run in Minnesota, previous to this postseason run, right? Mm-hmm. Like previous to the Ginger Cuz nickname. I don't know if you saw Marshawn Lynch nickname him.
No, I didn't, but I like that.
He nicknamed him Ginger Cuz. He was like, it was like, let's go niggas, and then it was and Ginger Cuz. Very, very funny. But
as a California kid, I'm sure he is kind of a baller, so that's probably not the first time he's been included.
In a post about black people, it's definitely not the first time he's been included in it. But yeah, talk to me about Darnold. Like, what have you seen? What do you think? Where do you think he's vulnerable?
So, I think where he's vulnerable is if there's pressure applied, he will panic. He does not have really. I mean, he's got some escapability, but it's similar to a Jared Goff kind of thing where it's like he can move, but if he's not 4 yards separated from the guy chasing him, he's only got about 2 seconds. So I think if the Patriots can generate pressure and run like a low zone coverage, right, where our safeties are pretty inexperienced. So that on the Patriots defense, I'm most worried about Craig Woodson and Jalen Hawkins over the top. Not really worried about the corners. Linebackers have played well. Front four has played good. I'm worried about the safety play. That being said, with Sam Darnold, if there's pressure, that's when he starts to kind of crumble. I don't want to say crumble because the last 2 years he's been a completely different quarterback.
But the
previous 6.
The Minnesota playoff game last year, he crumbled.
And that can happen in an instant.
There's been a lot of talk about Darnold's first 6 years as a quarterback in the NFL, whether it was his years with the Jets, Carolina. I personally always thought he had arm talent, but it was never about the talent with him. It was always about, like, the mental aspect of it all. And to be honest, like, the Jets, they traded him, and, like, it looks really bad, but at the time, no one cared.
If the Patriots can minimize JSN's impact, right, below 5 catches, 50 yards, something like that, I don't see Rashid Shaheed still. They got him at the trade deadline. That's still 10 weeks. That's not a lot of time to be fully comfortable with the offense. They're also
he's not quite acclimated.
Right. So it's like, and also he's not a guy who's going to get 10 catches. He beats you on 1 or 2, and that could be the game. So it's like, if they can stop JSN and pressure Darnold, I could see the Patriots causing turnovers. Because in the last 5 games the Seahawks have played, they've played 5, including the playoffs, they've played 5 playoff teams. The other ones who weren't in the playoffs, the ones that they didn't play in the playoffs, who they played in the regular season, they had 2 games against the Rams, 2 games against San Fran, and then they played Carolina the last week of the season when they were still playing for the 1 seed. So that's not one of those Week 18 games you can just throw away. Darnold had 7 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, fumbled 4 times, and lost 1 of them. So if they let's say he loses all of those fumbles, that's 7 touchdowns, 7 turnovers. So it's not like he's really been protecting the ball all that well. He did against the Rams in the championship game, right, where they had to put up 31 points to pretty much stay afloat. I mean, they had a 10-point lead and it almost dwindled because of this. I'll get to what I was about to say in the next minute or so, but really, I think it's kind of been the story of Darnold's career where if they can provide pressure and take away his first option, he's going to be in trouble. However, I really do think an X factor for the Seahawks who could wind up being the difference maker is Kenneth Walker. He's been getting close to 20 carries in their last 8 games or so ever since they lost Charbonnet. and then the backup, it's Holani or George Holani has only had 4 carries in the entire playoffs when they've only had Kenneth Walker. So they've pretty clearly shown through their last month and a half of football that they're going to ride Kenneth Walker into the ground. They don't really have that kind of right when Charbonnet's healthy, they have 2 great running backs.
Yeah.
Now that he's not, Holani hasn't proven to be reliable. I mean, during the regular season, I think he had 7 carries or something like that. In the playoffs, he has another 4 carries, another 4 catches, so like 8 touches in the last 2-3 games. So I think Kenneth Walker could be Sam Darnold's saving grace. If Darnold gets into trouble, but the Seahawks can run the ball, I could still see him winning. If Darnold plays well and they can run the ball, I could see them, covering that 4.5 point spread they got right now.
Yeah, I think Darnold's similar to Kirk Cousins in a lot of ways, where if you put a lot of people around him, skill position wise, he can look very good.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he himself is actually that good. I think he's really been blessed this year. He's got a great defense. As you talked about, Walker and Chardonnay were really, that was the whole idea. It was like, okay, we had Walker and Chardonnay, like, that was going to really help us in terms of like keeping Darnold secure, making sure that he isn't trying to do too much or he doesn't have to do too much. Right now,
right there is exactly it. Not needing to do too much.
He doesn't need to do no.
Great arm talent, and he's very, very accurate. But if he's the person you need,
he's always had arm talent. I mean, since he won the Rose Bowl against Penn State, his arm talent is he's always had arm talent.
Guy can absolutely sling it. It's just a matter of him being put in a position to make the right play and having the necessary time to do it. And they also, the Seahawks do have a very good offensive line. So like the best games he's played this year, he's barely been touched.
Yeah. How do you feel about your front seven against their offensive line? That's always like the big cliche football matchup, right? But like it's
Patriots start off the season really, really, really good against the run and kind of petered away on that a little bit. I think in a lot of the games they got up quick, and so the opposing team didn't really have to run the ball.
Yeah.
I think kind of what I was just saying with Walker being X factor, I do feel like the Seahawks probably see that as a bigger advantage to them than the passing game, right? Because I do think that as far as like the cornerbacks go, the Patriots match up pretty well against the Seahawks. Again, depending on how they choose to play those matchups, we're going to find out. I don't know. But I do think they match up well. I think if Christian Barmore can have a good game and kind of clog up the middle, right? If he's taken on 2 defenders with a 4 down lineman front, that leaves a lot of room for Christian Ellis and Robert Spillane, who have both played pretty damn good this year, to then fill those holes. And they've both been pretty consistent tacklers. So I would say not just the front 4, if Barmore specifically and Kyrus Tonga, the other defensive tackle, if those 2 can clog the middle, a lot of the times Walker breaks big runs by hitting between the 2 B gaps and then going out towards the outside once he reaches that second level, maybe after he's broken a tackle. That's where he gets a lot of big gains. I think if they're able to kind of just clog that middle portion, those from B gap to B gap, and kind of just almost like Wilfork did on his own back in the day. If those 2 in some combination can kind of just get fat, really, I think that would, probably be the best way that the Patriots are able to kind of stop the run game. Because if the Seahawks are only throwing, I'm feeling pretty good about that.
I'm counting on a big Landry game.
He's been good. They've kind of limited him in the run game. They've been using a lot of like linebackers and stuff, but as far as like the pass rush goes, he's been great. Same with Kayvon Chason. And then that way you can move Milton Williams in on either a guard or the center, which he can just eat those guys up. So do I think they'll be able to do that? Not necessarily. Is that what I think they'll have to do in order to kind of stop the bleeding there? Absolutely. I think if they can get fat and sort of force them to either run east-west as opposed to north-south, and then on top of that, right, if the running game's not working, you're going to have to throw. And I think that would go back to kind of what we were saying before, where you could put Sam Darnold in a position where he has to throw and he might hand you one. Because as good as he's been playing, he's a guy that can always just kind of hand it to you, whether that's
Yeah,
strip
Darnold.
sack or tip ball or something like that.
He's like the guy who, like, has matured. He's like the guy in your friend group or the guy dating like a friend of yours or whatever who has matured, but you just like know there's like a thing there waiting to like fuck it all up. Like there's just like a thing inside of him, you know.
You know what
He
though? I think there's part of
he's
him that
got
has to know that that's what people think. So like if he's on a kind of fuck it we ball sort of mode, that almost scares me more. Where it's like if he's using that kind of criticism to then be like, no, let me show you what I can actually do. Then I think we're in a little bit of trouble. But again,
yeah.
I'm not here to say that Sam Darnold can't do it, but I would take our second year quarterback over him in this game, whether I'm a
You
Seahawks
would
or a
take May
Patriots
over
fan.
Donald in this game.
Absolutely.
I think I would too. I think I
Even
would
with how
too.
May has played in the playoffs. I mean, something
Yeah.
about that too is like you go
I
back
just
to the
like how
Chargers game.
he's very calm. Like I don't feel like there's any like mental toughness issues with him. I don't like gutting that game out in Denver. Not easy.
No.
Not easy. You know.
And I mean, let's call it what it is. JSN played like the best receiver in the league this year. Darnold's getting a lot of help from his receivers.
Yeah.
Cooper Kupp isn't nearly as washed as the Rams wanted everyone to think when they were trying to trade him or whatever. Which, well, I guess not
He'll
trade
have
him.
some receptions in this game. He'll have a
Absolutely.
place. Yeah, he'll have some place.
It's just one of those things that like I know Vrabel and Tyrell Williams are going to throw some weird shit at him just to
Yeah.
throw him off his game. Even if it's not something the Patriots want to run for any schematic advantage, they might throw some random shit out there when let's say they know it's a passing down. Just throw him a defense he hasn't seen, since week 5 or some shit. Just throw him off.
Yeah,
And I
absolutely.
think that kind of could be a catalyst for, someone on defense making a play, which again, I was going to say this earlier. I think defense and special teams is what's going to win this game. The over is 45.5. I don't really. I mean, this is like a 20-17 type game, I think. And so either whether it's Marcus Jones for the Patriots making a play, Rashid Shaheed on the other side for the Seahawks, like those are the two best returners in all of football currently, in my opinion. And then, like we've said, both defenses, whether it's the front four, front seven, or the defensive backs, I guess excluding the Patriots, right? They got two young safeties, but between Eminwari, Julian Love, Reek Woolen, Witherspoon, and Job for the Seahawks, all those guys can make plays. All those guys have made plays, and they play for the Seahawks defense in those guaranteed passing downs. Same applies to guys like Marcus Jones. He gets an interception. That could be a touchdown in 2 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Carlton Davis,
Mm-hmm.
I think, is really consistent, and he's kind of that tough sort of almost like a bruiser of a corner where it's like you want to have him up the line of scrimmage, pressing, hand fighting, playing physically downfield. And then Christian Gonzalez, while I think he's been exposed a little bit this year, is still top 3, if not top 2 corners in the league. I think him and Patrick Surtain are the 2 best corners in the league. So I think both defenses have a lot of players that can make plays. And between Drake May not having the experience, playing pretty inconsistently during the playoffs, as well as everything we've said about Sam Darnold, I could see both quarterbacks giving the ball up, whether it's an interception or, right, May's in the pocket trying to do too much, he gets stripped. Darnold can't escape, he gets nailed, he fumbles. So I think we're probably having at least a turnover on each side, if not multiple. And again, like going back to the running game for the Patriots, the first 2 months of the season, people wanted Stevenson gone. He was fumbling a lot. Travion Henderson has even fumbled a couple times.
But that's a good duo, though. That's a good back duo. You know, if
At
they
least
can.
they have 2 guys they can go to. The Seahawks do not have that. They're going to have to really lean on Walker.
Yeah. Yeah. Talk to me about being a Patriots fan right now in terms of it feels, and we kind of alluded to it earlier, but it kind of feels like this is the version of the Patriots that it used to be pre Brady. maybe like late 90s version of the Patriots where it's like, okay, this is a normal team and it's not like these evil supervillains. Like, talk to me about that. Does it feel like you guys are a little bit more grounded as a fan base? Like, what's your or did that dynasty do irreparable damage to your mindsets?
I think so. Yeah, personally, I ingest as much football as possible, regardless of what team it is. We've talked Steelers before, and I probably named some guys on the roster where you're like, oh, I didn't even know we had them or anything
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah. No,
I
dude,
think
we can also get to the Steelers later.
oh we
Dude,
we probably will,
yeah,
but where I was going with that is that I think it's really shown, like, not myself, but this is what I see in this team, is that it's much more of a collective effort than a lot of those Brady Patriots were, where it was like, you have Brady, you find enough pieces on offense, you protect him, you're
you
going to
have
score points.
Gronk, right, right.
You're going to score points. The defense needs to make one or two plays to force a three and out or a turnover, and we can make this a one possession game, kill the clock, get two possessions, and
You
almost
guys
just
would have
kind of
went
like
back to back
grind them
against.
into the.
You guys would have went back to back if the defense showed up against Philadelphia. You guys would have went back to back.
Yeah, I know.
But like
55 points.
yeah,
55 fucking points.
yeah,
But so where I was going with that is I think it's been a much more well-rounded unit where on both sides of the ball throughout the season there have been some games where we don't win this without this defense. There have been some games we don't win this without this offense. And then a lot of the games that have come down to one scores or kind of just gritting out like a shitty, ugly win, something 13-10, 17-14, whatever it is both sides of the ball coming together collectively and playing complementary football, right? Where it's like the offense understands once we get this ball back, we have to kill some clock. That means these drives have to be prolonged. We need not just to not go three and out, we need at least two or three first downs. And same thing with defense, where it's almost like a bend don't break. It's like we got a 10-point lead. We can go with a field goal here, kind of kill the clock, let the offense do their job. So I think that's a big part of it, where it's like, we don't have the best player in the world, and we might have the best coach in the world. And I think something that he's instilled in this team is that regardless of what side of the ball you're on, everything you do impacts everybody who is playing for us. But as a fan, I think a lot of people have realized what really needs to go into like a complete football team to make them not only competitive, but competitive to the point, right, where you're winning in the playoffs.
yeah. Do you think the stretch of unsuccessful seasons in the late Belichick seasons and the Mayo year last year, did that humble the fan base like a little bit? Like, did the fan base like really be like, oh wow, okay, this is how normal teams live?
The thing is like, speaking from, I guess, personal opinion and then like Patriots fans that I know personally, is
Yeah,
it was always coming to an end. I think the way that
yeah,
Brady and Belichick fell out wasn't how people saw it, but ultimately like the part of that I think sticks with people is that it was just Brady's time, he's gone. He was always going to retire, whether he played 1 year, 2 years for another team, not really relevant. He was always going to have to leave. And I think it definitely was humbling. I think there are a lot of people who just didn't know football well enough to see that and kind of expected like, oh, it's like baseball. We lost the Cy Young last year. Well, we can
you
go
lose a
trade for
guy,
another number one
right?
arm.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
no. Those players that the Patriots had over those 2 decades don't just grow on trees, and
They were
when they're
Hall of
gone, they're
Famers. I
gone.
mean, I can count them with. I don't even think I can fit them on two hands. Of Hall of Famers from that dynasty, right? Like
Right.
it's like McGinnis, Seymour, Brady, like
Brewski.
Bruce. Like these people are
Yeah.
like Law. These people are Hall of Famers. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like
I
these are the greatest football players we will ever see in the 21st century. Like. I mean, Moss for that 1 year, Welker, like these people are like Sehow. You guys had Sehow for 1 year, like Asante Samuel. Like these people are like legends and all stars and superstars.
I think the person who was most jarred by the last, let's call it, excluding this year, the last like 5 years, pretty much since Brady left, whatever, 21, something like that. I think the person that it is most important to realize the state of the team, and also the one who was able to actually do something was Kraft. I think he
Right.
saw how uncompetitive they were with Gerard Mayo when that was supposed to be the first step in the post Belichick era, where it's
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, no, that they this whether they're losing 16 games or not, the team was not seemingly coming to fight. Whether they and that's something that you'll see with a lot of shitty teams, and kind of how you can tell they're on the right sort of path is not good but always fighting, right? They might get blown out by 30, 40 points 3 or 4 times a year, but there's still plenty of games you can go back to where it's like, hey, if this goes a little different, they only lost to 6 to Baltimore or whatever, right? That's not a specific example, but there's usually teams like that where you can kind of
They
see the slow progression, almost like
no,
the
there were some bad games in that Mayo year. Like
yeah,
I'm
right.
thinking about the
You could tell
game.
they quit.
Yeah, I'm thinking literally. I'm thinking about the game at Miami. Right, like
Oh,
that game was tough. I'm thinking
or
about
the
the
one
game.
against the Raiders where
Yes,
Ramondre Stevenson tried that asinine lateral, and the running back threw a pick six on a free play in the last play, and they lost. Where it's like, if you're well coached,
The Chargers game was like really really bad. That was an embarrassing one. Like I mean
and
I think
so I'm not usually one to give credit to owners, especially one like Kraft, who
is on
he
the
he
Epstein
hires
list.
he hires Belichick, and he's the GM for 20 years, and then he goes out and he hires Elliott Wolf, and he's the GM for the last 4.5 years, whatever it is. And like Kraft, as far as like football personnel, other than hiring the head coach, isn't really doing anything. I mean, he did make the decision to hire the GM, but that was part of like Belichick's little GM tree from Nick Casario, who had gone to Houston, and someone familiar he had just brought back. And I think what he realized was not only how disappointed fans were, but how far from what was needed to start making the right steps we were with Mayo, right? Where
Yeah.
it's like, that wasn't a team that was going to go from 3 wins to 7 wins. That was probably another 3-win team. And it would be a lot of the same guys that are here now. Fast forward to hiring Vrabel, you're able to bring in some marquee free agents on defense, right? Because, around the league, ever since he was in Tennessee, there's always been really good, even if they're not really, really good players, saying how much they'd like to play for Vrabel. And I don't think like the appeal of free agents is why they chose to go with Vrabel. I mean, it's similar to the Steelers in a way where it's like, I don't think Kraft wants to have to fire anybody ever again. I think his plan is probably now to give Vrabel. I mean, it would have to be really bad for him to not get at least 5, 6, 7, maybe even a decade's worth of years as the coach. And I think
Yeah.
that's ultimately what he wanted, and I think that's what's best for a football team, right? When you can have that kind of consistent messaging, and while you might not be retaining all of your free agents or guys you drafted, or trades happen and stuff like that, where it won't always be the same guys, but they'll be the same leaders, ideally in the room, that can then kind of echo the same sentiments as the head coach. I think that makes a huge impact just on the culture. Fuck how the actual football looks. You got to start with what motivates these guys, right?
Hmm.
How do you get these highly paid, very strongly independent in a lot of ways individuals to come together and actually work together, right? It's one thing to say it, and then it's another thing to see it taking place. I think McDonald has done the same thing with the Seahawks too, right? If I'm going to give credit to Kraft for how good signing Vrabel was, rewind 2 years ago when the Seahawks went ahead and signed McDonald. They were kind of almost in no man's land in that
They were in a
in
similar
the
kind of
NFC
thing,
West,
right? Yeah, yeah. I
where
mean,
it's like they're in such a competitive division, and it was so clearly either San Fran or Los Angeles that not something drastic had to be done, but it was almost like they needed a complete cultural overhaul of what the identity of the Seahawks was, and they found seemingly the perfect guy, in 2 years to completely change what that is. And we're not even talking about a team that has like, the a great young draft pick, right? They were smart enough to go see what Sam Darnold was able to accomplish and say like, okay, how does this pair with the talent that we already have? How can we go from there? What sort of things do we need to do? And both of these franchises really need to be given credit for how impressive what they've done, not building from the ground up necessarily, but almost, changing their identity in a way where it's like the Patriots were run a completely different way when it was Belichick. Now it's slightly different with Vrabel, where he still has a lot of the same personnel decision impacts with in in lockstep with the GM ideally, but it seems very similar to what McDonald has done with the Seahawks and how they've been able to build through acquiring, whether it's the draft, free agents, trades, guys that fit the identity they want to have, and then having a head coach who can go beyond that and say, hey, you're not just here because we think this. Now it's time to do this, and like what the different stages of that are, throughout the off season into the preseason through the first month is the hardest part of the football season. That was the last time in any month the Patriots lost more than one game. We're
Yeah.
going all the way back to September, and I'm pretty sure the same thing applies to the Seahawks. They might have
Yeah.
had one late loss sprinkled in that was like kind of close around another, but I mean they only have 3 losses. Both teams only have 3 losses on the year.
Checking right now. Yeah, so they lost one in September. They lost the opener, and then they lost against the Steelers. I remember that game.
And I think that was the only loss until Bills week 16.
Until Bills, yeah. That was the only loss
Yeah,
until the
and
Bills,
I'm
yeah.
pretty sure something very similar happened with the Seahawks where they got off to a shaky start where they might have had 2 losses in the first like 6 weeks, and then pretty much went
Yeah,
almost undefeated for the rest of the.
Seattle lost against San Francisco opening week, and then lost against Tampa Bay in October, in early October, and then at LA in November, and then that's it. So
Yep.
they've been on a winning streak. Since they beat Tennessee and went 8-3, they've been on a winning streak. So, um,
And when
yeah,
you're losing early, it's easy for guys to be like, what, everything you said is bullshit. Like, this isn't going to work. What are we doing here? Being on a fan of a team that has a coach that, seems like he can pull the boys up and be kind of like, hey, shut the fuck up. We're not going to let those negative thoughts creep in. Seems to me to be the same kind of calculation that the Seahawks have done and what
yeah.
Coach McDonald has done as well, which, again, I want to make sure I'm giving a lot of credit to that organization too, because whether Sam Darnold is there for the rest of his career or whatever the fuck, they have done an incredible job from
Making a
3
Super
years
Bowl with
ago to
Sam
get to this
Darnold,
point.
yeah, making a Super Bowl with Sam Darnold as your quarterback, like that's an accomplishment. I still don't think he's like that good. So I think we'll see. Maybe he's gonna do the Jim Plunkett thing, and he'll have like this second act of his career where he's a Super Bowl champion and he like is a clutch quarterback, etc. But
We could be right there. Yeah.
we could be there. We could be there. Give me a prediction. Like you've been incredibly unbiased, which I think is really funny.
I
But
know.
you know ball. Look, you know ball. So you've been
And
incredibly
I
unbiased. Yeah.
wouldn't feel right coming on here and saying, yeah, the Patriots, they got it. Nothing to worry about. They're going to win 28-15.
I think it's going to be a
Honestly,
close game.
if I was biased, 28-15 would probably be a pretty close score. I'd say like 28-10. I don't think that's going to be the case.
I think it's gonna. I think usually these games are really close. I thought like remember the Rams versus Bengals year, and I was like, I think the
Yeah.
Rams are like a lot better than this Bengals team, but it was still like a really close game. Like these
Yeah.
matchups tend to be really close. The first Chiefs and Eagles matchup was really close. Like the 49ers Chiefs matchup was close. Like these games usually are really, really close.
Yeah.
What's your prediction of it? Like what's your take?
So based on what we were saying before with the defenses, I think it's unlikely that this is going to be a high scoring game. I think if either team gets around 28 points, it'll be hard for that other team to get to that point as well.
Mm-hmm.
I feel more confident in the Patriots offense than I do the Seahawks offense, but I feel more confident in the Seahawks defense than I do the Patriots defense. So it's one of those things where it's kind of like picking your poison of what direction I see the game going. I'm looking at 24-17 Patriots. I think it's going to be something late. I don't think it'll come down to a field goal. I think this is going to be one where there's going to be some sort of turnover in the second half. I'm not going to go out and blame Sam Darnold before anything happens, but I do see it being something where the Patriots in the fourth quarter are given a tied game and a chance late. Maybe not late, but late enough where Seahawks might only get 2 possessions left, right? We're talking like beginning of the fourth quarter where it's like, if you kill enough clock, this could be down to 7 minutes, with 2 first downs kind of deal. So I think 24-17 Patriots, bet the under. Right? I don't think we're getting to 45. I would kind of like it. It would be more exciting. Like, I'd rather have a high-scoring game. Cause at least if it's back and forth, if the Patriots are down 7 and then they tie it, and then the Seahawks go back up and then we tie it again, then if there's 2 minutes left and we're down 3, then I'm like, all right, well, we've moved the ball. If it's one of those instances where it's a tied game and it's like 10-10, end of the third quarter, no one's moving the ball at all, that's when I'd really start to worry about, like, all right, if, let's say, the Seahawks score here, whether it's 3 or 7, we haven't been able to do anything. We, the Patriots, I'm doing that. I was trying not to for so long. I said we. But yeah, 24-17, I think it's going to be close, and I think there's going to be something in the second half where the Patriots defense makes a big play. I'd see more like a strip sack kind of thing, but because we were talking about it earlier, I don't expect Darnold to be throwing interceptions. I just think the Patriots defensive backs are talented enough that they would have game planned around having him make throws that are going to put the ball in a risky spot. All right, I think they're going to be relatively conservative, excluding maybe like a trick play or a couple deep shots to Shaheed. Again, if JSN is going crazy, right, he gets so open that I could hit him, right? It doesn't have to be a good or bad Sam Darnold throw.
I'm going to go.
Yeah, what do you think?
I'm going to go 20-16 Patriots. I just feel like when Darnold got traded to the Seahawks, I don't remember anyone being like, oh my God, what a steal. This is incredible. I actually felt like when they traded for Darnold, I was like, how much better is Darnold than Geno Smith? Now, look, maybe I was wrong about that, and Geno Smith's not good at all, and, part of his renaissance was because he was playing for Seattle, specifically Carroll, who, was nurturing him, etc. Maybe that's the argument. Maybe the argument is that he missed the defense and all these different things, but also, he was playing on the Raiders this year, which is,
he was horrible.
Bro, playing on the Raiders, it's like, come on, bro. It's literally like a death wish. It's like, come on, this is like...
Hey, that's where Seattle offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak's going.
That is true. He'll get is he coaching? Is he coaching the Super Bowl? Yes, right.
He's coaching the Super Bowl,
okay.
And they can't say officially that he's taken the job until afterwards. But I mean, it certainly seems like he's going to be their next head coach.
Yeah.
I would, to that point, I think the Seahawks made a very smart move because do they have another quarterback if it's not Sam Darnold? Not really, right? They wouldn't have been in a position in the draft to take anybody unless they're trading up. And Kubiak is good enough.
I would say that if they had Geno still here, they probably do not make it to the Super Bowl. I would probably agree that now Darnold is better than Geno, and maybe I was wrong about that. But I just remember thinking okay, is this guy this much better than Geno Smith? I'm not sure, and I just don't think he's all that good. And I think that in this Super Bowl he is not gonna have a great game, and it's gonna be Patriots 20-16. They'll score a touchdown late, and I don't. And then a pick seals it. A pick from the Patriots seals it.
And I like the 16 number because that the Patriots this year have done a great job in the red zone of allowing 3 instead of 7, right? They don't have the best red zone percentage in the league, but more often than not, when they're giving up points, it's a field goal, not a touchdown.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Right, if they're getting 16 points, you're scoring 1 touchdown, and then what? That's another 3 or 4 field goals. Yeah, I think Kubiak though does deserve some credit for how well he was able to use Geno Smith running pretty much the same offense. But I think another part of how good Darnold has been this year, which I kind of alluded to earlier, is that JSN has been better this year than he was last year, and he was already pretty damn good last year. The jump he has made in production is pretty astronomical, especially for a guy who's in his fourth or fifth year, right? Where usually the breakout is either rookie year or something like that. It deserves a lot of credit, and the guy is an absolute dog. He's one of my favorite wide receivers to watch. But I do think that has helped Darnold immensely, especially because there was some stat I had written down. But before Charbonnet was getting hurt, they in the regular season they scored 25 passing touchdowns, 21 rushing touchdowns. So it's like they've always had a very balanced attack, and especially when they were able to run Charbonnet and Walker, anywhere from 10 to 15 carries a piece per game, it was a lot different. So I think kind of going back to me saying Walker could be an X factor earlier on, if they're able to run the ball, I think Darnold will have a lot less responsibility in the pass game. If the Patriots are able to stifle the Seahawks running game, you're putting all of the offensive productivity on Sam Darnold's shoulders for one game. As good as he's played, I still wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah, we'll see. He's had like, I get the whole Jets thing. Look, the Jets didn't put an offensive line on him, and he lost his confidence. That's what happens to a lot of quarterbacks. But he was also able to.
He was getting killed too. He was sacked like 4 or 5 times a game.
He was getting killed, but he was also like allowed to stay in the league for like 5-6 years, really figure it out. Yeah. And then finally, but so was Gino, by the way. In fairness to him, so was Gino.
Yeah,
but
true.
He was able to kind of like figure it out, and he's in a really good position in Seattle now. We'll see the way he plays, man. We'll see. I think.
I think a lot of the stuff we've gone over kind of illustrates why it should be a great game, because it's like there's a lot of unknowns for two teams that have played very consistently for the last 15 weeks, including the postseason. Right? You were saying Seahawks have probably won like 10, 11 games in a row at this point. The Patriots are probably 15-1 during the last 2/3 of the season or whatever it is. Very good defense on both sides. I don't see either of those falling apart out of nowhere. It's really going to come down to what these two quarterbacks can do. And honestly, the advantage might be with Maye just because he doesn't know any better. What does he have to be afraid of? It's his second year. Like I think the best case scenario for the Patriots is he comes out looking like he's playing loose. Because I feel like between the two quarterbacks, if one of them is going to tighten up, it's not going to be the second-year player who doesn't know any better. If anything, it's going to be the guy who was chastised his entire career for turning the ball over and being less than.
How many times is Michael Maye going to be shown in the telecast?
She's a sweetheart. I don't want my reaction to her being as if I don't like her, right? She says, and even my girlfriend loves her. That's like the only thing about Drake that my girl has even mentioned. Like, oh wow, you Boston guys really love Maye. We call him the prince who was promised. And she's the princess of all of the, I guess, wags of Patriots fans that don't really care what's going on. Now, we love Bakemas. I will just say, way too many protein oats. We got to do something with a sugar cookie or a brownie.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, she was talking about giving these to the offensive line. I'm like, those men need some sugar, right? I know, and also, Drake is perfect. Drake can't get fat.
She seems like a sweet girl. I just think they're
the nicest woman ever.
I know. Too nice though. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think what? If we're going back to the Malcolm Butler interception prop, I think they will mention Ann Michael and Bakemas at least 4 times. At least.
Yes.
And there's gonna be who's the Maria something. Who's their sideline reporter at NBC?
Michelle Tafoya?
No. She's running for like Minnesota Congress now.
Oh yes, I saw that.
Did you see that?
I did see that. Yeah.
Oh, I've been asking the hard-hitting questions on the football field. Oh yeah, Michelle. So what are you going to do in the second half? Yeah, really fucking hard-hitting. No, it's Maria,
I'm surprised
Maria
I didn't
Taylor.
see Maria Taylor. Yes.
I'm thinking of. They're absolutely going to go to her on the sideline, and while she won't be with Ann Michael, she'll have like a cookie that she made or something, and be like, this whole season the Patriots have come together, like their wives and girlfriends and all the players, and she's brought stuff in for the line, and which is great. That's all great. We don't. I don't care. I mean, it's nice, but
I think. By the
I don't
way,
care.
I'm so surprised I didn't see Michelle Tafoya in the Melania documentary.
Oh my God, she was.
No, no, no.
I was,
No, I'm surprised that I didn't see her. I'm surprised that I didn't see her.
I wasn't all that surprised when I, for a moment there, thought that she was. That, honestly, I could see her just doing the conservative grift.
Oh my God! Well, you know what's really funny is I texted you about this. I was watching and we were all like talking during the movie because obviously that's not a movie where we need to like. It's like if you were
Except
sounding.
weren't you telling me there was someone in the back who got like mad and left because
Yes,
they were
yes,
like,
yes.
This is disrespectful. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, somebody, a native of Staten Island, it seems, seemingly, yeah, was very upset that I was laughing at the screen, and me and a few buddies were laughing at the screen. But it was really funny was seeing him talk about the national championship game. And that it being on the same day as the inauguration was like a slight to him. not that the national championship happens every year.
Right. Yeah. Or like these, or all of these things aren't predetermined years in advance. I bet if
Years
we looked
in
right
advance.
now, we could figure out the date and the location of the 2030 national championship.
Exactly.
I mean,
Literally.
I could tell you when Louisville is playing fucking Notre Dame in 2035. It's ridiculous. Also, I just looked it up. Michelle Tafoya is running for U.S. Senate as a Republican in Minnesota.
In Minnesota,
So
yeah.
she's
There we go.
absolutely picking up the grip. She's like,
There we go.
I can go against Tim Walton.
Great timing, by the way. Great timing.
Yeah.
Great timing on Michelle's end. Great.
Right?
But okay, so let's transfer to the Steelers for a second. I want your take on this. The Mike McCarthy hiring, like it got me to one of the coolest things about being a Steeler fan is the coaches thing.
Yeah.
I think what they do with the coaches is one of the coolest aspects of being a Steelers fan. Chuck Noll was 35 when he got the job. Bill Cowher was 33 when he got the job. Mike Tomlin 35 when he got the job. Like it is part of the Steelers' tradition to hire a young coach, and then us fans get to grow with the coach. Right? I was 11 when Mike Tomlin was hired, so he's been the coach for my whole life.
Crazy. Yeah, that's crazy.
I've had Mike Tomlin in my life for 18 years. It gives me more of an investment with the team, more of an understanding of the team's culture. Like and there are people, Steeler fans that I watch the games with on Sundays at the barn in the city who like remember like being kids when Cowher was hired, right? Like that is part of it. Like that aspect of it is part of why I think the team is so unique. And then they end that by going and hiring 62-year-old Mike McCarthy. Like it's just
So
like what
that's the thing. It's like I don't think so. Wait, I don't want to cut you off. Was that the end of your thought?
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
I was just about to say because I also admire them for doing that. Not because it's like sometimes right with the Tomlin years there were some hard ones where it's like damn any other organization would probably have cut ties already.
It was time.
However,
Don't get me wrong. It was time. It was definitely time
never,
for him. Yeah. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. With McCarthy, other than the ties to Pennsylvania himself, it doesn't make very much sense to me, especially because 2 years ago when he was with the Cowboys, it wasn't like they were still a disappointment in the playoffs. They still didn't win any games. Like I just don't understand if you're gonna go against the grain like they did in not following the pattern that you're talking about, why go for a guy who's proven in his second stint as a head coach that he couldn't get it done? What makes you feel like it's going to be different, right? What has Mike McCarthy done in his 1 year off to make anybody think all of a sudden he's now going to come back and be the Mike McCarthy of Green Bay? I just don't see it happening.
When he was in Green Bay,
I can't.
When he was in Green Bay, he lost a lot of playoff games because there were fucking coaches out coaching him.
People forget they won one Super Bowl.
They won one Super Bowl, and that was like the first couple years he had Rodgers as a quarterback.
Yeah. And I think they only made it to one more, right? Because they
don't think they made it to another one.
Yeah, no, it's just that. Yeah.
No, it's just that. They didn't make it to another one. They lost against San Francisco for a couple of years. Remember those San Francisco years? They kept losing to San Francisco.
Yep.
They lost to Seattle on that really, really rough one when he like really tough one. They lose to Seattle.
Lost
Like
to the Giants when the
lost to
Giants
the
then went
Giants
on
when they
to
were.
beat the Pats.
That's right.
Yep.
When they went like 15-1 that year, they lose to the Giants.
Yep.
I just like they lost to someone else too. Who else did they lose to? I'm looking at McCarthy right now. They lost to someone else that was just a ridiculous playoff loss.
It
Cardinals. This is the Cardinals. The Cardinals
Okay,
won. Well, they were hurt that year, but they're pretty hurt that year. But the Cardinals won. The Falcons won when they got blown out against the Falcons. Like it's just like these. It's just like this guy. Like he look. Do I think he can coach offense? Yeah, he could. He lost against that last Favre year. Loses against the Giants in that last Favre year. Yep. Do I think he can coach offense? Yeah, I do think he can coach offense pretty solidly. Like I think, yeah.
And Cowboys teams he coached never really had a problem in offense.
No, never had a problem on offense. Never had a problem on offense. I just think like I think I'm not convinced that they didn't hire him because he's like from Pittsburgh. Like
so that's why I brought that up, because it was like I can't think of why you do it. I mean, if he's your offensive coordinator,
that's part of it.
Great.
I think that's part of it.
Great.
I think they felt that they needed like a fucking Pittsburgh guy or something like that, which is like
I mean, I think was Tomlin.
No. Tomlin's from Virginia.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say. Because I was like, I don't even think Tomlin was.
No, he wasn't.
It kind of feels like this might be the one time where a coach has a short leash. Like I could see them giving him 2 years after the second if we don't see any kind of right. And also, it puts him in a tough spot because like we don't know what Rodgers is going to do. I think he'll come back. I honestly think he played pretty well. If he has a good offensive line around him, if he's not hitting the ground, you can still get good football out of Rodgers. Is it Super
he
Bowl
still
quality?
has the arm.
I don't know.
He still has the arm. He just
And
doesn't
the
have
mind.
the yes.
A huge part of it is what he's able to see.
On the field, he's got the mind. Yes.
Hey, I am not.
I'm kidding. No.
Aaron Rodgers, the person.
I'm kidding.
Football player. I will vouch for that. Aaron Rodgers.
He still has the arm. The problem is so much of his game and what made him really deadly was the mobility. It was the mobility, and without the mobility, like it's just like not quite the same. I think.
And that was always the thing that stood out about Rodgers as opposed to like the other great quarterbacks of his
Brady,
era.
Breeze, yeah, he was.
Those
Manning
guys couldn't. They were so stationary. I mean, granted, all of them could move around the pocket, but Rodgers was one of the few that could actually escape. Right? If you think about it, Brady was never, and this applies to Manning, Breeze, Rivers. They could shift and step up, step to the side, get a throwing lane. Rodgers would actually, boot himself out, establish himself, then deliver. Kind of like what I was saying before. With
he always reminded Rodgers always felt like it was like if you morphed Brady and Big Ben together. Yeah. That would be what Rodgers was, right? Like if you had morphed those two guys together, that would be what Rodgers was. But I just don't get the process of it. Like, okay, whatever. You think McCarthy's a better coach than people think? Sure, fine. You think he can really coach offense, and the offense has struggled in the past couple of years, especially under coordinators that really aren't very good? Fine.
Yeah.
Fine, whatever. But, like, make the process a little bit better. The process was poor. They didn't even bring Shula in for an in-person interview, that's who I wanted. I thought Shula would have been a really good hire. He's 35. He's a Shula. Like, a Shula in a really traditional organization with a lot of history, that's like the marketing is easy. Like it's like if you want to think about it like that, like the marketing is easy. Like
and especially with a front office that's going to stand by their guy.
Exactly.
As a first-time head coach, that goes a long way when it's like, hey, as long as I can confidently say what we were trying to do, what the idea was, I don't think I'm getting canned just for either making a bad choice or underperforming. But I do think with McCarthy, he will not have nearly the same kind of leash that we're talking about. I think they may have just been in a tough place in the whole landscape of the coaching cycle where
I wonder if there was someone. I wonder if there was somebody who got hired who they wanted, but like he already got hired or something. Like
that's kind of what I'm trying to remember as we're saying this, guys that went first that I feel like would have been a better pick. Because like. I don't think Harbaugh ever would have gone for it, and he went to the Giants. No,
they wouldn't. Yeah, they wouldn't have. He went to the Giants pretty quickly. I don't think they would have done it. I don't know, maybe Stefanski or like
Hmm.
Minter or LaFleur, like one of these guys, like maybe one of these guys they really wanted already got hired, or maybe what it was is they felt like they felt like they weren't any good candidates and they wanted, Johnson was got hired by the Bears, this year, and so they weren't able to get Johnson, who was somebody maybe they wanted. Like maybe it's some of that, but like it just I
I
just
think
can't.
the best
I j-
case scenario would have been that because around the time that Tomlin stepped down, there was some pretty loud rumors about the same happening to Matt LaFleur.
yes, that's
And so
right. That's
I think
right.
if Green Bay had
Ooh,
gone another
interesting.
way, LaFleur would have been a perfect fit for
Interesting.
Pittsburgh.
Yes, yeah, interesting. Maybe it was Lafleur. Lafleur would have been a good fit for
Something
us. Yeah.
it would have been
Although
perfect.
I've been, I hung out with some Packers fans that game against the Bears, and they were like
Oh
Lafleur's.
yeah,
They were so pissed at Lafleur. They think Lafleur's. Yeah, they were like, this is crazy work.
he will from time to time make some questionable decisions, but as
His second half coaching is one of the worst second half coaches I've ever seen. Yeah,
he's made some dumb moves. It's true, he
it's
has.
some insane moves.
But
But look. McCarthy, like I just it's the process of it all. It's like, is this the guy really, or are you guys were you guys kind of like flustered and didn't really know who to hire, and we're like,
it
okay,
feels flustered.
we'll just hire the guy from Pittsburgh, the white guy from
I'm
Pittsburgh. They'll like it.
we
Like it's like
I
like
I think it's exactly that. I think it's the Pittsburgh guy. Yeah,
the Pittsburgh guy, the
because
fat
they had
guy
to
from
do
Pittsburgh.
something,
That seems
right?
cool. Like it's
They
just
had
like
to do something because it's like
yeah.
we're not just going to keep Tomlin for another year just to have a coach, right?
No,
Everyone between
I look. I think Tomlin. We've talked about this. I
oh
think
yeah,
Tomlin probably, honestly, was like the resignation of Tomlin is maybe 2 or 3 years too late. Like low key, I actually think I would have done it. Like I think the year Roethlisberger tore. One of the issues I think with the team, this is what I've been saying, is like the year Roethlisberger tore his elbow out. Right, that
mm,
year.
yep,
Instead of winning 9 games, which they did again, which is one of Tomlin's biggest masterpieces that year, is fucking crazy. Like I can't believe they won 9 games that year.
it's kind of impressive how consistently he's
It's
winning nine
that's his
games.
no, literally that year is his masterpiece. And the fact that they won 9 games that year is crazy.
But that's football purgatory though, right? You're not
But
going up or down.
they should have tanked that year. I thought they should have tanked for a quarterback that year, and they didn't tank for a quarterback. They waited for Rossberg for his elbow to heal. They had one more year where Rossberger's elbow was healthy, but he was a shell of himself. He wasn't throwing the ball deep. It was a lot of screen passes. He was a
Yeah,
shell of himself. Then they lose. They win 12 games a year, lose against the Browns in the wild card. The next year he returns, and he's just a shell of himself. He's not good. And then you need to draft a quarterback, so they draft Pickett, who was not good.
yeah. That
Pickett
feels
was
like
not good.
another. Oh, he's from Pittsburgh. Fuck it,
He's from
kind of.
Pittsburgh. Yeah, no.
I
In fairness, he was the first quarterback picked in that draft, and that was a bad year for quarterbacks. That's also the
yeah,
Malik Willis year. That's a
yep,
bad year for quarterbacks in general. But
yeah. And I think actually to that point, I think this may have just been a bad offseason for head coaches.
yeah,
I'm
maybe.
not saying some of the guys that got
But why
hired
not
aren't going
hire
to be
I like
successful.
Weaver. I liked Weaver a lot. I liked Weaver's like the way he spoke, and maybe they like literally. I hate to say this, but maybe they felt they couldn't hire another black guy. Maybe like, but I thought Weaver and
I
Flores.
hope not. I hope not. Mike Tomlin was there. I mean, correct me if was there much like
I mean, yeah, you have just
racism
like
toward him from fans?
yeah. I mean, you just have like the idiot Steeler fans, but those people don't
Yeah.
really matter. Yeah, those
I
people
mean,
don't
hey,
matter.
look, dude. Last year with Gerard Mayo, there were some Patriots fans where I was like, I want to put you in fucking prison. This isn't even a sports take. You just sound like a bigot.
Yeah, but I mean, like, yeah, I try not to let that stuff like influence the way I feel about
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
coaches themselves. Like, I do genuinely think it was time. Like, it's possible that the fan base was done with Tomlin for a lot of reasons outside of football, but also like there's like weird rumors about his family going on Twitter right now too, like a bunch of weird
Mm,
stuff like that, and like look, that could be that is what it is, obviously, but also that doesn't mean it wasn't time. I thought it was time a couple years ago. Like I was ready for a new coach. Like I've been ready for a new coach for like 2 years.
no, I
So
agree. And despite like the reaction that was reported by a lot of the players, which I think is completely warranted, because like from all accounts, players love playing for the guy. It's like one of those tough breakups where it's like I love you, but we're not going to get married, kind of thing.
yeah,
Where it's almost like
yeah,
it just kind of had to happen, sort of. And the way it happened was unfortunate. The season leading up to how he ultimately decided to resign, I think, was really unfortunate because he is one of the better, more consistent head coaches that the NFL has had in like a long time. Like people forget, like I guess they don't forget, but like the way he was running those defenses to complement the Roethlisberger, Bell, and Brown triple head on offense did a lot because those offenses, while incredibly talented, had plenty of games where teams kind of figured them out and they had to be in one of those like 10-6 grinded out, AFC North bullshit type games. And he was always up for that kind of stuff. It never seemed like there was ever a Steelers team that he coached that was coming thinking they'd lose. You know what I mean?
No,
Where it's
never,
like
never.
that kind of identity he had firmly instilled within, you know, his culture surrounding his time as Steelers head coach. But I kind of agree where like it did sort of run its course, and like the thing that's been plaguing the Steelers for the last like 4 years has been offense. So
Yeah,
pivoting to an offensive coach, I think makes sense. And
it's
kind
been
of like what
offense
we were
too.
saying
Yeah,
with
it's
the
been
with the
offense.
Pickett draft, right? It was just a draft with bad QBs. I think this is just an off season with not the best head coaching options.
Yeah, maybe they
But
wanted,
so
Johnson unfortunately Johnson unfortunately was hired last year, right? Like everybody wanted Ben Johnson as their head coaches, but like he was hired last year. Flores, unfortunately, when you
it was
sue
all
the
Vrabel and Ben Johnson.
literally, like literally, like Flores, unfortunately, like when you sue the NFL, that means you probably won't get a head coaching job anymore. Like that's literally like that is the cost of suing an organization.
Yeah,
You
the
probably won't work
owners
there
are
anymore.
buddy buddy like that because right, you're saying to the owners essentially, you all did this, and I'm going at the NFL on behalf of all 32
Yeah,
of you
he's
essentially.
got a
Yeah,
look. He's got a good case, but like
I mean,
still
you know
like
what? If there's one thing that Brian Flores could say in court to, I guess, corroborate himself would be like, hey, I was fucking right about Tua, wasn't I? That
yeah.
guy is a bitch. He sucks.
Tua sucked, dude.
Oh my
Tua
god,
sucked.
I
But you
feel
know what?
bad for the guy, but
But
like, he
yeah, I
sucks.
mean
It's like CJ
he
Stroud. It's like the
yeah,
same thing where I'm like,
but he's concussed. Yeah. Tua's
you're
concussed.
in the
Yeah.
1% of quarterbacks, but you are in the 0.05 that we can still say sucks.
Yeah. I just feel like
Oh wait, I had one more thing on McCarthy.
yeah.
I think this coaching cycle and them deciding ultimately to hire him indicates to me that he'll have a much shorter lease than any of the other Steelers coaches.
You
Like,
think
don't
so?
be
Yeah.
surprised if year one doesn't go great and then year two is similar to year one and he gets canned. But I think then following that, they would go back to what you described, where it's like we want young, a long tenure kind of thing, which is
Maybe they thought Shula wasn't experienced enough.
I don't,
Maybe. Doesn't make any sense. So Tomlin was a fucking like D coordinator for 1 year before they hired him.
yeah.
Like
But they also may have just not had someone that they fell in love with, and so they're like,
yeah.
all right, our
All
offense
right.
needs a little bit of something.
Yeah.
This is the best chips on the table at the
Yeah,
moment.
we don't
We gotta
love these
play.
candidates. We don't love these
Right.
candidates. Let's just hire the guy that we know who's from Pittsburgh.
And also,
Yeah.
kind of similar to the dating analogy I used, where it's like, yeah, hey, we got to break up with Mike. We're not gonna get married. We'll still go on some dates for the next couple years, but we don't think we're gonna find anyone. You gotta
Right.
wait a couple years before you're ready to get back out there.
Exactly.
I think the
Exactly.
McCarthy move could be almost like a placeholder of some sort.
Yeah.
Do I think they could still be good with him as the coach? Definitely.
Yeah.
I think the first year they're not, he's gone. I don't think he'll have the kind of leash that Tomlin had.
I mean, look, they married Tomlin for 18 years. They spent 18 years.
18 fucking years.
It was great for 15 of them. Like I had fun
Yeah.
always.
Oh,
He was
absolutely.
like all of the way. All of the um the standard is the standard. All those kind of like quotes that he would do. All those phrases.
One
I
of my
should say.
favorite parts of Coach Tomlin.
He's yeah no I mean he's easy, he's an easy guy to root for in terms of like having a coach. I thought it was time though. I'm glad. I hope he can spend time with his family, etc. Like I just feel like the process of hiring McCarthy didn't really make any sense. But we'll see what happens. Look, they like this 6th round pick, Will Howard, which is he's a 6th round pick. How good could he actually be?
Did you hear how McCarthy said his name?
Yeah, I saw that. But yeah, wow.
Wow. It was
Yeah.
like one word.
Yeah. No, he's got the Yinzer accent. Like, we'll see what happens. We will see what happens.
And a lot of talent on that defense. So like,
Still a lot of talent on the
still a
defense.
lot of talent
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
defense,
yeah.
despite what you might get from Rodgers. If they can in the draft add a little bit to the O line, maybe another receiver. I
Maybe
think
another receiver.
Jalen Warren, I
I
think
would
is going to
love
wind up.
I would love another receiver. I think the team could have been better had they kept Pickens. I think they were afraid about Pickens' attitude. I think AB has really kind of like made them gun shy in terms of like attitude receiver issues. And so,
And
which
I think the way that
rightfully
they
so,
kind of
rightfully so.
absolutely, yeah. I mean, AB is. Hey, you guys got out of the AB business just in time.
Just in time.
Right before the business stopped booming, the Steelers got out, which was the
Yeah.
perfect fucking time.
Right before we found out that the business had like IRS tax issues. Yeah.
He's, I
I
feel bad for the guy because he was
I love
so
that
good
guy.
and he's
I
so
love
off
that.
the rocker now.
I know
But
he's off.
like,
He's off his
and
rocker.
then
But
Le'Veon's a porn star.
both of those guys, I always loved those guys. They were so good. They were so
Honestly,
good.
me too. I loved watching them play. Even
They
as a
were
Patriots fan.
so good. Yeah,
Yeah.
they can do no wrong in my. It's bad for me to say this, but they can do no wrong in my opinion. Like I love those guys. Anyway, obviously they can do wrong, obviously, and they have done wrong. But like they I don't know, they get a pass for life. Those guys were so good on the field. Like I can't. I just can't.
I know what you mean.
Anyway, like. I also wanted to bring up. I was texting you before this, or we talked about before this, before we started recording.
Yeah.
I have this Jaylen Brown theory. We're getting a little Celtics-y.
I am glad I'm
second.
only just hearing it now.
Yeah.
For the listeners, he almost told me beforehand, and I stopped him.
Yeah. We have. So you are. I think as you became more of a Celtics guy, like as you got older, which I think is really interesting.
So I always loved him when I was a kid, like the Paul Pierce, KG, Ray Allen type days, and then they were so bad for so long that it honestly became like kind of just not to say like I wouldn't watch games or like I wasn't a fan or anything like that. It wasn't until we got Jaylen Brown and then Stevens and Ainge started to actually do some shit where I was like, okay, this team is going to be competitive.
Yeah.
We can kind of fall back in love. Like I'm ready to get hurt again,
Yeah. You got a title out of it. It was like up and down for a while. I think the Kyrie years really threw you guys for a loop. Kyrie's kind of like
who was like so exciting when he came, and then
he's just like
the second year was like
he kind of was he was just like checked out mentally. It was a lot of
okay. For the record, though, I will say for me personally, I know there are Celtics fans that definitely disliked him either before that or for other reasons. I was still in on him regardless of any of the because like he'll always say shit in interviews where you're kind of like what do you mean by that, and I kind of just ignore that shit. When he was standing at center court of the TD Garden being like, hey, my contract's coming up, but like I'd love to stay if y'all will have me, and then like the crowd goes nuts and he's like, yeah, I'd love to be here. I forget what he said. After he did that, and then like 3 months later was very obvious. He didn't like directly ask for a trade request, but like he was pretty clearly doing.
He
like,
was pretty checked out.
Dance.
Yeah, he was
right.
pretty checked out.
It was the complacency dance of like, oh, do you still want me? Look at him, I don't care. So like that's where he lost me.
Yeah. He was pretty checked out. Like, but you guys got a title out of it, right? You guys got a title, so you got the one. Last year the ending was rough. I still maintained we were up.
Knicks were up anyways.
Yeah. I still look. We were up 10 with 2 minutes left in the game 4. Like we probably would have won anyway. Probably.
I would never take that from you.
I appreciate that.
Tatum could have played the rest of that game, and we're not winning.
Low key, yeah, and it's like low key. The team actually looked really like worse with Tatum, and that's kind of what I want to talk about. They actually looked worse with Tatum. Like in game 2 with Tatum like having to being really ball dominant, they did not look good at all. Look, this year they've played really well. It's been a really interesting team. It's actually been like a more interesting team to watch, I think, without him.
Yeah.
Is Jaylen Brown better off without Jason Tatum as his teammate?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
Okay, it's not to say that if Jalen was the guy, we wouldn't be able to build around him and still have a competitive team. Not at all what I'm saying.
You guys are
like if he.
I'm looking at the standings. You guys are you guys are tied. We're tied. So we're both 32 and 18.
18. They both have 18 losses.
Yeah.
See, the thing is though, is like when
Jalen's been really good.
Yeah, but when they do play well together, there might be something personal where they're kind of button heads, sort of like, I can do this. No, I can do it. Even though we both could do it, we don't really know who's supposed to do it, kind of thing. I honestly feel like that's kind of like a Missoula problem, where it's like, I think him figuring out how to give them both roles that satisfy, I guess, how they see themselves, and rightfully so, right? I think both of them, while I'd say Tatum is top 10 in the league, I think JB is like top 20, I still do think Tatum's better, right? Like, who would I pick between the two if I have, right? Gun to my head, I have to pick one of the Jays. I'm picking Jay Buford. No, I'm picking Tatum. But I think defensively, Brown is way beyond what Tatum will probably ever be as a defender.
Well, yeah.
But again, I think Tatum as like a pure scorer is much better than Brown could ever be on his own.
He's a more fluid player, I think, than Brown is, who's like a little bit more of a bruiser. And so when Tatum's on, his fluidity really stands out. Yeah. Like, somebody once said about him, I don't know if you saw this tweet, maybe I sent this tweet to you, that someone said Jayson Tatum is the Paul Georges of LeBron Jameses.
I don't think you said that to me, but I like that.
Yeah, but it's like
accurate.
Yeah, it's like out of all of the elite LeBron level like franchise talents, he's the Paul George of it. He's like the least best guy of it. He's like the most like he's like the guy that like sometimes when you watch him play, you're like, this guy's a superstar. He's fucking up. Like, you know, like that. The first two games against the Knicks in that series, I remember I was like, Tatum's really not playing well at all. Jeez. Like,
I think that is one of the most glaring things when I watch him. Is it's so clear to see when he's forcing it. Like you were talking about fluidity and stuff. When he's actually playing, 5-man basketball, it's way different. When he starts to do the ISO shit. And not even ISO shit, it seems like he's going away from what the designed play is. Granted, I understand there's not always something drawn up or called.
Shooting fall-aways.
A half-court possession.
Right.
It's like he's a kid in his driveway who just watched his favorite Kobe highlight, and he's like, oh, I love that guy. Let me do this. And that's not to disrespect his game, but I swear to God, I see the same shit when I used to play pickup. Where it's like, wait. You're just doing that because you think it looks... Like, there's sometimes he'll do like this fading baseline shit, and I'm like, you could also just like pump fake and go to the rack. Like you can, you're 6'10", like you don't have to fade away every time you shoot it.
I wonder, like, I mean, they just did this trade for Vucevic, and it's an interesting trade. Like Vucevic still has some talent in him. Simons,
I like Simons though. I mean, they don't really need another guard.
They don't really need, with Pritchard.
What is Simons' role once Tatum's back, I think, is really kind of what led him to get rid of him. But if you think about it, like going from Drew Holiday to Simons to now Vucevic, I think Vucevic, while not as – I don't expect him to be as productive as Kristaps was for the Celtics, I think he fills a similar type of role once Tatum's back. And you can have Tatum, Brown, a guy like Vucevic who kind of, not as effectively as Kristaps, but can expand to that three-point line kind of thing. And then I honestly, the guy to me that led to the Celtics winning a championship was Derek White. The way that guy has come on since joining the Celtics and shaving his head, he's been much better as a bald man.
Yeah.
Just for anyone out there keeping track. But yeah, I would have to go with Tatum over Brown. Just to go back to your initial question, I think.
Fair.
I think just the upside for Tatum, even though we've seen what he can do, is still higher than it is for Brown.
I wonder though, like, now Brown's gotten the taste of like having his own team. What's it gonna be? Again,
right? They're tied for third in the East or second, whatever it is.
I would take them ahead of I would have taken them ahead of the Knicks last week. Maybe the Knicks are on a 5-game winning streak, and also, we've gone back together. But
if the money going to Tatum is going to other parts of the team, what would they be able to add to help Brown? Right? I can see. I don't know if he actually said that himself, but like,
no, I mean, I
can see it.
even the stuff where he's been like streaming a lot recently, and he's with his chest puffed out, talking shit about this ref, talking shit about the Knicks, etc. Like, I think he really views himself as the guy on the team right now. I wonder what it's gonna be like when Tatum comes back. I'm just, just throwing it
No,
out there.
I think it's completely fair to ask.
Like, I wonder, yeah, I just wonder like what the groove's gonna be like. It's
I
always,
think it's definitely going to be weird for sure. To start those first like 5-6 games, it's going to be clunky.
It's gonna be clunky. Yeah, it should be. Is he slated to come back later this year, Tatum?
Now that they're like probably more competitive than people thought, I think because that was the second round of the playoffs, so that would have been early June, and Achilles is anywhere.
I think it was May, somewhere around May. I think it was. Okay. Yeah.
And I mean, there's guys who come back from Achilles in like 9 months, so that would put him around March. I mean, that would even still feel too early, and also kind of like what we said with the clunkiness, if he's coming back 2 weeks before the postseason, do you even A, want to risk it? B, are they going to have enough chemistry to actually have it be worth having him out there? Like, is it not better to go with what you know and kind of go with Brown, Pritchard, Derek White? Hopefully Vucevic, blends well with these guys. I mean, do you bring Tatum back, who's your best scorer, but is going to have to get into not only his own rhythm, but back in rhythm with his teammates? Mm-hmm. Or do you go with what you have and see where it takes you? I honestly don't know. I think that's probably the most interesting storyline for the Celtics moving forward is how and when does Tatum return, and whether it's for health or chemistry, is it even worth it to add him into what very well may be a top 5 seed, as it is?
Yeah. We'll see. It should be interesting.
It's an interesting question. I know. It's funny you asked me that because I've been like actively avoiding talking about it. Was like, you remember Connor, my buddy,
of course,
shorter dude.
Of course.
Huge Celtics fan, and he even kind of asked me something similar.
No, Connor and I have had conversations about Tatum where it's just like, okay, like I just wonder about him long term with Brown. Like, is this just like a 5-year thing, or is these guys going to be playing together forever? Like, it's like, we'll see. I'm really curious to see how they like. Brown has been like better than I thought he was going to be so far this year.
Oh, me too.
Like he's been really, really good. Like,
and I'm pretty sure he's shooting career high percentages. Like, I think he's been more efficient.
He's been an MVP candidate.
He's been playing better.
He's been a genuine MVP candidate because if you look at it, like, Giannis is hurt, and the Bucks, and he might get traded. He's probably not gonna get traded this week. Honestly, he'll probably get traded in the offseason. But like, he's the Bucks aren't really good. He's been hurt. Gilgeous-Alexander just got hurt. Shea just got hurt. Maybe Cade, but the Pistons are like a 5-man team. They're not quite like a one supreme guy at the top. And
didn't they just trade Ivy too?
They just traded Ivy to the Bulls. Yeah.
Ivy. Yeah.
They just traded Ivy to the Bulls.
Not saying he's like their difference maker necessarily, but
yeah. No, I know what you mean. I mean, it could be Wemby, but Wemby's also gotten hurt. Could always be Jokic, right? They could always just give it to Jokic. But Brown's an MVP candidate, right? Like, Mitchell's been great too. Mitchell's also been really, really good. But we'll see what happens. Yeah, I'm really intrigued. Thanks for coming on, buddy.
You got to be excited about your Knicks too.
I am. They've been playing well.
Playoff series last year.
They've been playing well.
A good solid core.
We got a good. But you know what the problem is?
Again this year.
They were really struggling a couple weeks ago, and partly why they were struggling was because a lot of things. But they had a little bit of injuries. Hart was hurt. McBride was hurt. But Cat really was not playing well. Like, there was something going on with Cat where he was struggling. To lead the team.
He's always been kind of streaky, though.
He's just like, there's been rumors that there's been reports that he was upset at being involved in Giannis trade talks in the offseason. He was upset about that. Look, man, like, Giannis is one of the greatest basketball players to ever live, dude. Like what do you expect? You know what I mean? Like, the guy's like a top 10.
There's a lot more players that will be traded for a guy like that than won't be traded.
Exactly.
For a guy
like there's literally, like, that guy is literally one of the 10 best basketball players we have ever seen. Like, ever. Possibly. Like, he's that good. So, like, you getting traded for him, like, I don't know. It is what it is. I get it. What he was saying was like, okay, I'm one of the reasons why we made it that far last year. Look, if he gets back on the right track, they can figure it out. I love Brunson, but we'll see what it's all this is all so early. First half of the NBA season is so early to even talk about. Like it'll shape through. Once April happens, you'll see these teams really shape through, and then you'll have an idea of who's going to win. I think that the Pistons are really good. I don't think they're that good. Like I think they're really good.
They're probably a year away from winning.
Look, they got
but like a playoff series.
They're 37-12. They're the number one seed so far. Like they're really good. We'll see. Yeah. We'll see though. Yeah. We'll see. They almost beat us last year, so I'm not denying their greatness, but like,
hey, they've given the Celtics some good games this year too. I'm pretty sure we already lost to them.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. All right, buddy. It was this was so much fun. This was like
I had a ton of fun, man. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for you will definitely come on. Like if there's a Knicks Celtics series, you will definitely come on, and we can. And
I would love to.
And then it'll be like baseball season 2, so we can like joke about the lowly Yankees versus Red Sox stuff. We can talk about
little.
Yeah. We could talk about the Bregman loss too, buddy. That was like.
I know. Wait, we'll save that.
Yeah, we'll save that. We'll save
do
all that.
Spring training one.
Yeah.
Training one.
Yeah, we'll get you on spring training for sure.
All right.
Yeah. All right, baby.
Love you, man. Thanks for having me.
Love you too.